Can you hear it loud? The world is ready. Stand up proud. Your story is power. Your passion's the spark. With Innovate AI and i3, you'll leave your
This
mark.
session that we're going to be going through is how do you engineer high-performance teams? So let me ask you this. What are some of the challenges that you're having in building a high-performance team? Yes?
Our team is dispersed around the country.
Multiple, international, or domestic?
International.
International, love it, love it. Thank you. What other challenges are you running into to building a high-performance team? Anyone else?
Well, let's add to the international, but the main problem is time zones.
Time zones.
Yeah, like awake at the different.
I can tell you, I know, because guess what? I'm from Hawaii and we have no time zones. And so when I lived in Hawaii and my clients were in Germany, New Zealand, Australia, guess what my hours were? 10 at night to 7 in the morning when I had meetings with my international team. So I understand that. So thank you. International clients, time zones. What else are you experiencing for high performance? Yes?
Different personality, work style, just different.
Oh my goodness. You just hit the nose, hit the button on the nose, whatever that thing is. Because what we're going to be talking about is building a high performance team means that you need to understand, if you are a human-centric leader, that values matter. I want you to write that down. Because if you don't know it by now, if you don't understand the values that drive a person, you've missed the boat. You've missed the boat. And let's take a look at that, because it doesn't just apply to your business, it also applies to what? Your life. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about a concept that we love. It's values-based persona. It's a methodology called BANK. It was put on by Codebreaker Technologies. It was one of our very first AIs that we got introduced that had empathy attached to it. And so with that in mind, that one organization was invited to the United Nations for AI for Good. And when we found what that concept was, we realized that when we understand what's important to the person sitting, standing, or kneeling in front of us, we have an ability to shift the thinking and bring a team that's diverse in differences of opinion and bringing it together so that we can accomplish those 2x, 10x, and sometimes 100x goals. Is that good? Okay.
So real quickly, we wanted to acknowledge Silver City, Denver for hosting us here. If you haven't been in this space before, it transforms into all sorts of stuff. They've hosted like art exhibits and all sorts of different events, get-togethers. There's a conference room and some other actually rooms that you can actually sleep over in overnight as well upstairs. Amazing rooftop that can be rented out as well. Views of downtown, obviously Coors Field and everything else. So just a big shout out to them for supporting us. And when we look at teams, most teams don't fail because of a lack of skills, right? That's not what happens. Although there are cases where people don't quite get along. And that is a skill, right? Getting along. And so for some of you may have heard earlier, I'm a recovered academic after earning my PhD at Boulder in business and being a professor, spending a decade leading one of the nation's largest colleges of business, and then many years as a chief academic officer type role. The biggest complaint I had from every employer was, can't you teach people to get along, to work together, right? People have different personalities, you think? A little bit, yeah? Anyone disagree with that statement? People have different personalities? I don't think so. No, I don't see any hands. So ultimately, though, that was the thing. It was like the soft skills, but it's the power skills. There's nothing soft about it. Make no mistake. Because the thing about it is the technical skills will get you the job. The human skills will either let you keep the job or get you fired, right? And increasingly, particularly with AI, the human skills are going to be even more important, and the ability to actually connect. And you know, it's working with people, it's the leadership, it's the communication, it's avoiding or managing conflict, all those types of things that are increasingly important. Because again, people think that these people need more training in this area. Yeah, there's training maybe sometimes necessary in some of the skills, but the biggest area they need training is in emotional intelligence. It's in understanding themselves, how they react, how they respond, hopefully respond rather than react, right? And then understanding other people, what makes them tick. And what's missing though, is you can train all those individuals, right? But if you're not training the team, there can be that misalignment and an understanding of the entire team and what's there. And it's not always because of what the miscommunication is occurring, because there's different underlying values. And we'll talk more about that and how that comes up. But think about the cost of that for a business. It's enormous in terms of what happens. 30% of time is wasted. How many of you have felt like your time has been wasted in a team meeting, right? Inevitable. They estimate that the annual loss just due to poor collaboration, think about that number, $1 trillion. That's enormous. You can make a little dent in that number. And most of the time, there's confusion about goals. People aren't really clear. And, you know, if the goal isn't clear, how is there going to be alignment? And the message from whatever level doesn't always, it's like the grapevine effect in terms of sometimes how that communication takes place. And more importantly, a lot of the communication is about the how and not the why. And are you really winning the hearts and minds of the people? And this is a system that can help you do that more quickly, explicitly doing that well. Mamie, do you want to talk a little bit about the performance equation?
Yeah, the performance equation that we use, we have combined AI with the humanistic part, which is bank. And when we combine those two things together, we do get what we call flow and results. Let me tell you how we did that. I was a global implementation director for a software company. They said, hey, Mamie, we're going to give you a title. We're going to call you the global implementation. They kind of said the queen. And I said, you do realize titles don't mean nothing to me. But the person who was giving me this title thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. Do we have a miscommunication going here already? Right? So they wanted to give me a promotion, and then guess what they were giving me with the promotion? I had to lay off 300 people. Anybody been in that position? And I said, what are you talking about? Didn't you know that Eric has this skill, and Dahlia has this skill, and Kevin has this skill? What was the difference? They just saw numbers. I saw people and their skills. You following me? And so what ended up happening was this. We took information about the client we were just about to lose, and I put together the best team that I knew who could take care of one section and one section only. So what I did was we took a look at, taking a look at what was valuable to the person. That was data. We combined it with the skill set, because guess what, guys? When you know exactly what you stand for, skills come with it. And we're going to show that through the different personalities. When we built the trust, we literally, because I had a high-performing team, we were able to save a $23 million contract in 7 countries. And several of the people who were supposed to be laid off got to choose what country they got to live in for 2 years. Is that good? So when you know your assets and you combine it with technology, you do get results. So we're going to give you some insight as to what are you talking about when we talk about values-based persona. And I want you to write this down because it's going to be important as we go through it. It's not personal, it's personality. It's not personal, it's personality. We're going to start by giving you some traits, characteristics, value sets that sets each individual apart and the skill sets that they bring to your table as a business owner is priceless. You ready for that? I'm going to give the floor over to Dr. Eric.
Thank you. So when you think about the interaction between people and the ability to actually have a message connect with somebody, have you ever felt like sometimes you're speaking a different language than somebody else? I think that's the easiest way of thinking about it. I remember reading the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It's like the gender-based thing, but it's the same with these different personas, that they are that different sometimes. And the thing about it is, as we look at, and we do sales training as well, one of the things in sales is this idea of rapport and like matching and mirroring and pacing and leading and different things like that. But ultimately, when it comes down to rapport, there's some research out of a group called the Challey Group that looked at sales and the conversion rates on sales. And what they found was that when personality types are not aligned, 18% of the time, on the one hand, they'll sell or close the deal, 18%. So less than 2 out of 10 times. Versus when personality types are aligned, 82% of those deals will close. And so when you think about that idea of buying something and closing a deal, think about buying into something. Is your teammate buying into whatever the concept is that you're selling, if influencing the project, the proposal, whatever it is, or if it's with a boss and you want a raise or a promotion? Are they going to buy into that? And if you're able to align a personality type in the same way you're selling something, you're selling an idea, you're able to do that. So we're going to walk through, and I want you to think about these as different lenses. So I want to share with you what the blueprint lens looks like, because that is this individual over here, right? This is the blueprint personality. And for a blueprint personality, they want to have structure. And I will use the analogy of a box. Blueprints live inside of a box, basically. And a blueprint, architects use them, right? That they have a plan, a system. Blueprints love systems. If you haven't heard the acronym, save yourself time, energy, money, and stress. Because when you have a plan and you can execute against it, you're building a house, you want to have a plan, right? You want that blueprint. But they want stability and structure. They need clarity to feel confident and move forward. And they want to avoid risk at all costs. They have a sense of duty and obligation. Rules for a blueprint, what do you think? Any blueprints like that are resonating with what I'm saying right now? How do you think they would complete that sentence? Rules are meant to be what? Followed, right? Yeah, I mean, it's about having duty and obligation. They're the people that will go under the speed limit, right? And they're the people that will stop you at the crosswalk. Well, wait, you don't have a green thing yet, right? Or a white thing or whatever, like obviously that's important to them. And they have a sense of responsibility. They also honor tradition because it's predictable. They love routine, and with that, they don't like spontaneity. And so as you think about each of these different personas, whether it's you, I invite you to think about who do you know in your world that exemplifies each type, because it will help you really lock into that in a powerful way. I had a roommate in college who was blueprint to the T, military background, ROTC and stuff, but he was so organized and structured. He had his day planned out minute by minute, I kid you not. One time he was into scuba diving and he invited me. He said, "Would you want to go with me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, what are you thinking?" And he pulled out his agenda for the scuba trip. And I'm like, I looked at it and literally it was every day and he had it down to like, we're going to do this. And I'm like, that's not my idea of a vacation. I prefer to have a little loose sort of structure and everything. And it wasn't later. And my mom taught me how to do laundry. And I learned like you do your dark and your light load. He, on the other hand, did everything by color. And he had quite the rainbow of clothes. So when it came to like weekends where I had time to do the laundry, he would be doing laundry all day long. Because even if it was a couple of different things, he would not wash them together. It was just his way of organizing. And those little labeler things, like I didn't know they even existed, I don't think, until I met him. But in our kitchen, the pantry, like he had his shelf and he labeled what he was putting on each shelf: cereal, peanut butter, grains, and like it was just crazy. I'm like, what is? And even and refrigerator labeled the same thing. Like this is like, but there we just had our. It was my shelf and his shelf. But you get the idea. That's a blueprint, right? Detailed structure. And I can remember this, and I have to laugh. My daughter, one of my daughters, was pretty high blueprint. But I remember she had her driver's permit, and it was like right after she got her permit, she came in and she was so excited. And she's like, I got something for the car. I'm like, what'd you get? She had a little accordion organizer for the glove compartment. Because she's like, wouldn't it be cool? Because I know you just have sort of the insurance card and the registration in there, but I want to organize it with the manual for the car. And I'm like, have at it. Like, I would never in a million years have thought about that. But more importantly, we knew from a young age that she was pretty well, I didn't have the language for it, because she would lay out her outfit for the entire week. She would know and organize. And if you look in her closet, like everything was it was like a rainbow, like everything was organized. It's just, that's the blueprint person, basically. And for them, when you're working in a team, can you imagine what that means, right? You've got to be able to provide the structures and step-by-step systems and processes for them to understand what is going to happen. What are the risks? Because they want to avoid them. They want to be able to understand that, and you want to be clear on that. And also, they want details, right? They cross the I's and dot the T's. So the more information you have that can help them have a plan, and what is the blueprint? Here we are now. This is our goal as a team to go here. How are we going to get there? They need that blueprint. They need that roadmap. And it's no different. Like you think about, I know, navigating downtown is not always the easiest. So if you're doing that, but if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? Like you can use a GPS system. You don't just get in your car and not set a destination. I'm just going to drive around for a while. But yet I see teams doing that all the time. Like, what's your number one priority this week or this quarter? What are your KPIs? Like, what are the outcomes you're striving for? And how does that get communicated? Oh, I don't know. I was hired to do this, but I don't know what our priority is right now for this quarter, or what's expected, or projects and things like that. So it's being really clear on that, and also making sure that you're recognizing the skill set that a person brings. Do you think they make good note takers? Now we have AI to do that, but do you think they're pretty organized and could help coordinate things, right? So leveraging their strengths as it relates to the team and what they're doing, like Mamie's example, like, wait, Eric has these skill sets, you're going to lay him off? Like, but he's really good at this. Maybe he's in the wrong role. It's like, I think about Jim Collins in Good to Great or Built to Last. He talks about getting the right people on the bus, but then you got to get them in the right seat. I see time and time again, people are in the wrong seat. And an example of that I'll share, I was working with a real estate brokerage, and we were looking at some of the dynamics within the team and the people in the different roles, and looking at, they were getting complaints about the receptionist. And they hired the receptionist because she was incredible at this. Organizing and coordinating and calendaring and scheduling and managing all the things. Fantastic at that. But in her role, she had to interface with people. And her lower code, which you'll learn more about, but you can see like this idea of nurturing or relationships. That was her last code in the sequence. So she was great at this, but not so good at this relationship aspect. You think that'd be important for someone who's a receptionist? Whether they're greeting people coming in to the office or answering a phone, or even how they interact with other people? By simply making a simple change and putting her in a different role and getting somebody high in this capacity to be that person, but also had some of that, the whole operation transformed almost overnight, because the feedback, the people felt welcomed and appreciated and valued as potential customers or You know, even their existing clients notice that difference. But it's leveraging people's strengths in a way that serves the team. So that's a few things about the blueprint. What we want to do is give you some insight about the action personality type.
Well, the action personality type guys are the movers and the shakers and the millionaire makers in their own mind. They're the ones who show up with high energy. They're the ones who go out and close deals and close deals and close deals. With an action personality, they don't care about the details like the blueprints do. Are you thinking we have a problem now? With an action personality, rules were made to be what? Broken, not followed, not followed. So can you imagine these two trying to work together? Opposites attract and they attack. With an action personality, their skill set, and you figure this out, what department would an action fit in? They love freedom, flexibility, spontaneity. They love action, opportunity, and excitement. Not this, what happened to all the details on the contract? Hey, I got the contract signed and we made $1,000. I made $100,000. The blueprint goes, are you kidding me? You forgot to get him to sign the document. Oh, small things. I'll just go back and go do it again. Yes? When you have the two dynamics working together, value sets, when they differ, sometimes come together, and we'll show you that in a moment, and they also irritate each other. They love attention, stimulation, competition. That's why salespeople have awards and competitions. They love that. I don't like competing with people. And you'll find out I'm a nurturing, really. But I do have high action tendencies. They love winning fun. Everything from head to toe is all for show. And when you have an energetic employee and an employee that follows the rules, do we have a challenge, everyone? Yes, we do. And this is why we said it's not personal, because a blueprint does something a certain way. It's not personal, it's personality. And this personality could be overwhelming sometimes. But they are good at making sure that your team pulls together and you move in that same direction. Okay? With an action personality, what I love about our action personalities is that they know the client's name, they know what they do, and they can talk to the client because they have amazing rapport. Our blueprint says, Mimi, go ahead and take care of the client. I don't even want to look at a client. That's not good, bad, or otherwise, guys. Because in the background, our blueprint takes care of the contracts. They get it signed to the T. They give us all the details that are needed. Are you following me with the different personalities? Okay? Now let me put on a different lens for you today. The lens that I love. Everybody go like this. Aww. The nurturing personality is the one that you will notice. They walk into the office and everybody goes, oh, Mamie, give me a hug, right? They're the ones that say, hey, how's your family doing? Hey, I heard your wife was not feeling too good. How's she doing today? Anybody recognize that employee or that staff or that partner? Well, with the nurturing personality, they don't want to follow rules. They're not outside the box like the actions. Our nurturing personality, they love to recycle the box. Why? Because we love to make a difference in the world. Yes, remember Miss Congeniality. All I want is peace in the world. Yes, that's the nurturing personality. What do nurturing personalities hold dear? They hold dear relationships, authenticity, personal growth. Not a problem. Significance, teamwork, and involvement. This is the employee who will check in on you when you're sick, and they'll bring chicken soup when you need it. They'll go above and beyond, not because they're getting paid for it, but because it'll make someone feel better. Does that make sense? So for a nurturing personality, you want to isolate them from a community. We are people-oriented. This employee needs the ability to interact and get involved. Unfortunately, sometimes they're like, can you stay in your own business? Because we're in everybody's business. All right? And if you haven't figured it out by now, the nurturing personalities, we pull teams together because we love to work with people. Teamwork. We love charity work. We love ethics. We love morality, harmony, and contribution. With a nurturing personality, what we need to do in a work environment is to be able to include them. Put them in charge of the community, the next community event. Okay? With a nurturing personality, I want you to understand this. With nurturing personalities, it's not about the money. Blueprints love titles. Actions love awards. Nurturing, they just want to be your friend. They just want to take care of you. So we have a different currency. If you have a nurturing in your team, they will work for you for free. Just give them pats on the back and acknowledgments. Money does not drive this personality. That is not part of the value set. But they will go the extra mile to help you build big, build strong, build wide, and build deep. Does that make sense? Can you see we've got 3 personalities here with different value sets that are so important that when you have one or a few of each of them, can you see how the team could be functioning independently, but then as a team, it could build up a high performance team. I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Eric, and he'll talk about the last personality.
All right, so let's look through these lenses, right? The lens of the knowledge personality type. And a knowledge personality, these are the thinkers of the world, right? These are those people that are wondering and always questioning things. But for them, it's, again, it's not the money like the actions are after. They're after information. They love to learn. They value intelligence and logic, self-mastery. They want continuous improvement. The world is a better place. We have drones because of technology and research and development. They appreciate accuracy, and they look for people being competent and expert in their field. They also want to understand the big picture in terms of everything that's going on when you're talking about maybe that project or the things that you're working towards as an organization. And if there is something, and it may not be specific to the team interaction, but because they're always questioning things, they love universal truths. If you can actually find an answer for something, like gravity or the speed of light, and boil it down to a formula like E equals mc squared, that's beautiful for a knowledge individual because they want that information. And for them too, they want to avoid mistakes. And they may have perfectionistic tendencies because of that. And from a perspective of overthinking, that's a tendency. It can be, at least. And sometimes it's paralysis by analysis. And you can think about on a team too, depending on the role, how quickly people move. Who do you think on a team moves fastest or is likely to move fastest? Action, right? They go to 0 to 60. You think about that in your car. You know, there's a red line, right? They move fast. They like to walk the red carpet. They love that perspective. So who do you think is the slowest out of this group? The nurturer, the knowledge? Yeah, I mean, the knowledge most likely is. Because again, what I just shared with you. And so can you imagine getting everybody moving in the same direction? It's like the rowing team. Like, how do we get people rowing at the same speed? And how do you move people along with whatever you're trying to do in your organization so that you can get there as fast, maybe as Action would like to, but you've got to understand that and make sure you create a pathway to see that happen for a knowledge individual. And at the same time, you can see where information that the knowledge might bring and the research they're doing, maybe there's some competitive analysis or market information on your competition or what the customer really wants that the knowledge would want to gather, the data, that's important. And for knowledge personality, they're just not going to rely on their gut or their heart to make that decision, which is likely what these two right here, think about it this way. These two codes, they are from the neck down, right? You've got your heart, you've got gut decisions being made. But it's like, everyone watch Star Trek, like Dr. Spock, like emotions don't compute. They're up in their head, like thinking. And if you're a knowledge or you're a blueprint, they are really the cognitive personality values. Now, make no mistake, we're all a little bit of each code. And if you're interested in getting a complimentary personality report that would provide you feedback and insight on your own strengths as well as how best to communicate others, just stop by or connect with Mimi and I, and we'll be happy to share that information with you so you can do it. And it's super fast. What's cool is we actually use, there's a digital version of it. Actually, these are my kid cards. But if you're working with kids, it's a good system to have. But actually, these are my adult cards because they actually have words on them rather than just pictures. But it's as simple as looking at these, and you can do it right now as you sit here. Think about if you had to sort these cards or these personality types in terms of what's most to least important, first, second, third, fourth, how would you rank them for a year? What does that look like? And what's really interesting is that as you rank it, I'll actually just give you a minute to pause and look at that. Think about that. And if you want to write it down, if you have something to write with, do that. And think about what's your primary code? What's your next code? What would be your third code and the last code?
Sorry, there's so many personality types out there.
Yeah.
Is this something that you guys specifically kind of created through, your own company, or?
This is something we didn't create. I wish I had created it. It's brilliant, and because I've used all the different ones, not all of them, but dozens of them, literally, with my background in particularly leadership development and working with organizations and executive coaching, everything from Colby, DISC, Myers-Briggs, social styles, insights, and many of them we brought into executive custom training we were doing with companies over the years. And what I love about this one, and even the Big Five is another one that's the one that has the most predictive validity. So the Big Five is considered, it's basically openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. That's the only one that has some staying power and stability over time too. But when you look at that, you've got something, hang on one second, my phone was going off. Ultimately, this is values-based. So unlike all the other systems out there, values is the closest thing to your identity. So that's what makes it so powerful, because that's your identity and your values drive your beliefs, which drive your behaviors, your capabilities, your skills, your attitudes. All those things flow down from that. So great question, but everyone got their order in terms of what's first, second, third, and fourth?
See, obviously a lot of similarities between blueprint and knowledge that
There is, yeah. Again, they're up here, right? To a large degree, but there's distinctions. And when we do training like speed coding, we help people understand what are those distinctions and how do you quickly identify that when someone walks in the room or when you're walking around an office place. It's always fun. I love that going in an organization. I spent decades doing a lot of consulting work too in organizations, besides in my academic roles, leading programs. And just to walk into any business and see, walking around, I could tell you looking at someone's cubicle, what their likely code is. They're like, are you FBI profile? What's going on here? Like, it's fun though. It's human behavior. We're amazing souls, right? So at any rate, how many of you had Blueprint first? Okay, a few of you. Awesome. How about action? Action first? Okay. What about nurturing? Okay, awesome. And so simple things, and I'll give you a hint. Most of the time, a nurturer, you can tell each of these codes actually by what you're wearing, if you know what to look for. And so I'll point something out. Notice what she's wearing. What is it about her blouse that would give you some indication that she might be nurturing? Flowers, yeah. And there's other people here that may or may not be. May I ask what your first and second code are? What's your second? Knowledge and nurturing. Your first two codes are what drives your behavior, your buy-in, your attitude. So anytime I see someone with a flower, I know the first two codes are likely, or something like that, that is indicative of that. Likely one of their first two codes is going to be nurturing. Your third code is how you show up under stress. So think about that for you and what that is. And the fourth is just what's least important. You think that would be important to understand someone's stress code? And so when we work with a team of individuals, and whether it's in, I mean, it can be in a lot of different settings. I've trained teams in hospitals, in emergency rooms, in dentist office, insurance, real estate, you know, you name the industry, we've probably trained in it. And obviously a lot of tech companies. And what's interesting in tech companies, do you think that there's a difference between what you find in tech companies? I was actually training this. We built the AI tool. I actually was involved in training Google's sales team out in California. And it was interesting walking into Google because you had these action personalities within Google. What do you think they were doing within Google? What type of roles do you think they might have within Google as an action personality? Sales. They were doing sales and marketing. And then what code do you think a lot of the other people were that were doing product dev and engineering? What's their likely code? A lot of knowledge. And blueprints, yeah. But it's like these worlds, two different worlds, right? And so how do you communicate and understand that in a way that's really powerful so that they can be on the same page? We had somebody that went through this training that was pretty high up within Intel, but you know, stuck, literally stuck, and just not going anywhere. And after he went through this training and understood that, he's changed his approach with other people. And it wasn't long before he started moving up that corporate ladder and being the one that they actually asked. He was invisible. He would literally say, like, I walk down the hallway and no one even looks at me or acknowledges me. You know, it's like I'm just not seen. But when he started changing and showing up differently, knowing that what he had, brilliant expertise on knowledge, he wasn't translating in the meetings he was in to particularly a lot of the leaders in those meetings that were action. And when he understood that and showed them how, rather than telling them all the technical specs, but like the end result, like give me the bottom line that the actions wanted. They didn't want information overload. They started asking him, like, you know what, we've got this client over in Europe. Would you go with the salesperson to meet with this client? We'd love to have you do that. And he started being seen and called out for opportunities and promoted and obviously financially compensated. So it can be a game changer when you recognize the power of the tool. I think when we look at the idea of teams, you can start looking at it again and mapping out, and this is something we do when we look at an organization, and it's so fun because we'll collect the information even before we go in and train the team. And we have everybody's bank codes or their personality types. And I can tell on the team, I even ask most of the time, after I look at the codes, I'll say, how's Sarah and Bill getting along? And they're like, who told you? And I'm like, what? Like, no, but it's predictable because what Mamie said, opposites attract and then they attack. And when you have the blueprint and the action or the nurturing and the knowledge, there's certain dynamics that come up because again, think about it. Like whether it's a relationship or any of them, there's different dynamics where they can be attacking. But the most likely combinations are that. And even in your relationship, I invite you to think about if you are in a relationship, how many of you have a partner in life, a spouse or significant other? Think about your code. And what do you think their code is? Because I can tell you this, first code is knowledge for me. My wife's first code is nurturing. Now, there's a different dynamic, and nurturing is my second code. So we have that synergy. So if you have the first two codes shared in your relationship, I would speculate the chances of you being divorced are very slim. It can still happen, don't get me wrong. But what I see, and I don't have all the data on it, but I've seen it firsthand time and time again, when the codes are different. If the people don't have the emotional intelligence to adapt and meet people where they're at, maybe can share one story. It's a masterful story. I've been married 28 years. I know 47 years now. It can be a game changer. This tool has saved marriages. It's saved lives as well. Literally, with understanding where people haven't been seen and heard. They felt like outcasts. And these are the same people that sometimes either attempt suicide, and in this case it saved a life, and this has happened more than once, or it's because the codes aren't understood. So when we do training, and I've done it in higher ed, I've done it in K-12 and in classrooms, helping teachers and students understand their codes, it's a game changer because people understood them, and they no longer feel like that techie nerd that doesn't get any respect, that then maybe lashes out and shoots other colleagues in the classroom, right? Because people will behave if they don't. The biggest need as a human is a sense of belonging and to feel like you make a difference. And when you acknowledge that, which is what you're doing on your team, when you take the time to learn another language and how to connect with somebody else. When you ignore that and you keep talking, it's like wah, 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 wah. Like, the words are coming out, but it's not going to register with them. So I think that's really powerful to understand that. And you want to have communication that lands, bottom line. It's not what you say, it's how do they hear it? And how do you need to maybe say it differently so they do hear it? And ultimately, as Mamie shared before, you can customize and tailor the message. And now with AI, as we work with people, whether it's in your business, in your branding, in your marketing, in your website, in your messaging, in your newsletters, or whatever you're producing, to make sure if you've got a specific ideal client, that is targeted to the codes. And if you don't know who it is, well, you better be speaking multilingual and making sure your message is going to resonate, because the reality is if you're only speaking one language and you're only talking to this person, you're getting 25% of the market. Who's getting that other 75%? Probably your competition. So literally by doing this, and I've worked with people in accounting firms and things, like literally, they were this, like this is their messaging. I worked with someone, I was on the board of a local chamber, and the person that was doing all the books for the chamber, accounting firm, blueprint, like you would not believe. And knowing sales, actually one of the universities I was at, we had a major in sales. So I said, would you be open to understanding something about why you're only closing 25% of your prospects? And she said, yeah. I'm like, okay. Turned out she was game. And within months, she took her 25% conversion up to 80% because she started connecting and changing her messaging to talk to those other codes. So whether it's in sales or whether it's in influencing your teammates, you can see how that might make a difference, right? Really powerful. So as we wrap up, I think it's understanding that simply by doing this, and also understanding the dynamic of the diversity. We're all a little bit of every code, right? And you don't want all the same code too. We see that. We were working with a business last month where we looked at the team and they were like, almost to the T, they had the same sequence of all 4 codes. And it was crazy. But they attract all those people. They're masterful at it. But the other codes, they didn't have anybody there to represent them. And even when I think about this, if you have the luxury, as people are learning, one of the situations I was in, and when I was in some academic leadership years ago, we actually had faculty maybe teaching a particular area, and we had multiple faculty. And we were actually able to match the student's primary code to the faculty code. So if we had one faculty member that was nurturing, all the students that were nurturing first went with that student. And if we had another faculty member teaching that same course that were blueprint, all the blueprint students went. It was amazing. Can you imagine that experience? Because they're speaking the same language, right? They approach the world the same way. And you can do the same thing and really doing that. So to be able to move from confusion to clarity, powerful when you understand the team dynamics. Because when you go through like Tuckman's stages of team performance, if you've ever heard about that, like you're storming, performing, norming, storming, I'm sorry, I got them out of order, but yes, thank you. You get the idea. How each of those codes show up in each of those different phases is different too. I mean, you can apply this in so many different ways that's really powerful. So maybe I'll turn it back over to you to wrap up. Anything else you want to add to this?
as you can see, when you understand what is important to the other person, you have the ability not to change who you are, but to shift into creating that rapport. Okay? And, you know, Doc, we have a few moments. Let's give them an insight into blueprint action.
Okay.
This is what it would look like at an office when we just first met. Hey, Doc, what's up?
You know, I'm just working. I got a lot of things to get done.
Oh, what are
What's
you
up with
working
you?
on?
Well, I've got this major project and we've got it all mapped out, and I'm on the third step right now to make sure that we are able to transform the way we've been operating with some really powerful systems.
Hey, well, what's the bottom line, man? Well, how are we going to win?
Well, I don't know that it's winning. It's really just making sure we have predictable processes to get the result that we want.
I'm not interested in that detail, Doc. What's the bottom line? What's in it
Well,
for me?
I don't know. You know, well, you got a job, right? I'm glad to be working with you, but
Oh my
like,
God, he is so rule generated, man. This guy is driving me nuts. All he wants to do is details. Details, Doc. The fun is
Yeah.
in the bottom line, man. We make the
Fun?
money, you do the contract.
what's fun about, well, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm glad you're doing that for us. But you know what? I've got an obligation to make sure that we're getting these things done in a systematic way, on time, on budget, with the quality that we need.
I do
And
that
it's not about
too.
fun.
I bring in the money.
Yeah, well,
I bring in
yeah,
the money. Oh my
yeah,
God, we
right.
have this amazing client that's coming in today. What do you think, guys? That's a reality, isn't it? It's a reality.
Yeah.
And what do you think is going on with Doc? What do you think he's going through when Mamie's like, well, what are you talking about, man? That contract, I want the bottom line. I'm getting paid, man. Show me the money. And he's like, what the hell, Mamie? You didn't even get the signed contract. Can you see where that could go wrong? And who's right and who's wrong? They're not right or wrong or otherwise. It's just value sets and personality. And it can apply not only to the work environment, it applies to your life. Let's give them a taste of that, Doc. We do it the nurturing style.
Oh, okay. Well, we could do that.
Opposites attract, opposites attack. Oh my God, Doc, you are so smart. You're the smartest guy in the room.
Oh, thank you. You know, you always make me feel like so special and seen and heard because, you know, no one else really cares as much as you do. So I really love that about
I know,
you.
but you know what, Doc? You really complete me because you're so smart, and every time I need something done, you have the answer.
Well, yeah, and you just create the space for me to be able to be myself. And you've got so many friends like you. Like, I don't know, my best friend's probably my computer, I guess, to be honest. But you know, I like that about you because you know, you just connect with everything, and you care so much, and you help people with your heart.
I do. I
yeah.
do. Thank you.
Sure.
So what happens when opposites now attack? Oh man, you are so anal retentive. My God. Data, data, data. Data. I'm not interested in the data. You don't even hold my hand anymore. You don't love me.
I told you I loved you when I married you. That was like 30 years ago. If it changes, I'll let you know.
Oh my God.
Like,
He doesn't, he's so bad, you know. I mean, he doesn't hug me anymore. He doesn't
Oh,
love me.
God.
He doesn't love me.
give me a break. Like, I hate your touchy-feely. You're so needy and clingy. Like, hold my hand
the
and,
hand,
and
talk to
like,
the
let's sit and
hand.
watch a movie
I
and
don't
like
this.
cry
I
and
don't
like,
like this. Don't
oh,
come to
give me a
with all
break.
that.
Like, you're so emotional.
see that?
Drives me nuts, right?
See what happens? I bet you're laughing because you have experienced it, yes? This is what we love about understanding who the human is, standing, sitting, or kneeling across from us. And it's not personal, everybody. It is personality. It's values-based persona. And you know, today, you know, we talk about stories we have. I've been married to my husband for 47 years. He's a knowledge. And what we just enacted is what I had to go through. I'm like, what the hell? You don't tell me you love me. You don't even hold my hand, you know? But you know, today, He holds my hand in public because he knows that means a lot to me. And for some of the men, it's like, what the hell? I don't need to hold your hand. But you know, for a woman who is nurturing, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So when we understand the other personality, the other value sets, we have the ability to what? To shift. We're not asking you to change, but we are asking you to be aware. That's how you build high-performance teams. That's how I believe, just like Doc, we build high-performance marriages. We're in this for the long haul. And because we understand each of the personalities, guess what happens? When we have children, we get to raise the children we have, not the one we wish we had. Let that sink in. So bank can be applied only because it's everyday life. It's value sets. And we can go on and on and on about that. But I know we've got lunch break coming up. Are there any questions that we can help you with?
I'm realizing that I got burned out in my last job because I had to be all of these, like, kind of equally.
Yeah.
Definitely more blueprint. But it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Good awareness. So how will that serve you moving forward?
I can focus on blueprint and find the next one and try to have everyone involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing.
Thank you. Yes?
Online assessment to, or.
You know what? Let me see if I can
We do
find.
have an online assessment.
Give me a minute, and I can probably.
Absolutely. And if you checked in, we're going to make sure that the different gifts that we've given out, you'll have access to once we get this all done. Okay? That's what we love, sharing that knowledge. Anything else? Yes?
How to manage the conflicts between blueprint and action first?
What was that again?
How to manage the conflicts between blueprint and action?
Blueprint in action, how to manage. We do realize that this is the lunchtime, so if you do have to leave, we honor that, okay? But the difference between a blueprint and action is this. When an action needs to deal with the blueprint, they need to bring their energy down. They need to show up for meetings, not on time, everybody, because on time means you're late with a blueprint. And actions are the ones who arrive late. So we tell our actions, you're going to go meet with the blueprint boss, come in 10 to 15 minutes early. Make sure you have all your statistics and you have your contract signed, because that's what they're expecting. So if I show up that way, do you think I'll have grace with my blueprint? Yes. And you heard Eric and I, blueprint needs to then loosen up a little bit. We laugh about this, about the dating scene. Blueprints, you want to go on a date? You can schedule it 2 weeks ahead of time. With an action, they'll show up anytime, any place, anywhere. And I have had a blueprint tell me, what are you doing? I don't have an appointment with you. I'm like, well, I want to go on a walk. I got things planned. So when you're aware of what's important to the other person, you get to make that accommodations. Does that make sense? Okay.
Here is a QR code you can scan, and it'll take you to a site where you'll see all those cards. And you will see options too. What's really cool when you work internationally, you'll see dozens of languages for the cards as well. So if you got somebody that isn't native English, or if you'll see the kid version of it with the icons as well that you can also access. One of the most powerful things for people to do, because most of you raised your hand when I asked the question about partnership, is to use these reports with your partner. If you have kids, if you have a parent, understand their codes. We've seen people, another example, someone that went through the training, estranged from her brother for decades. And she had a aha in this. She's like, oh my God, I just finally recognized it's like oil and water. I'm this and he's that. And it's like, I'd really like to salvage this relationship before we both die. She was well into her 70s. She reached out, they started talking. About 6 months later, they moved in together. And they've been living together I mean, talk about transformation. Another lady that came to a training, and like just a few minutes in, she was literally like in the divorce proceeding process, and said, "Holy, you know what? Like, I get it now. I understand. It's not personal; it's personality." Saved her marriage by just simply understanding that. It's so powerful. So, my invitation is to you. Is to not only you get your reports, you understand your strengths and weaknesses and how to communicate with other people on your team and in the workplace, but to understand how to do that in your family life, in your relationship with your kids. Because I've seen countless times again where parents are raising the kids they wish they had, not the one that they actually had. Sometimes vicariously wanting to live that life, but not honoring that individual and what was really valuable and important to them. So would love to see you do that. So any other questions?
This has been valuable. Yes.
Cool. All right.
No more waiting, the moment is now. You've got the tools, we'll show you how. Let your